Hello everyone, watch this review here with a look at, and well, forgive me if I mispronounce this because I tried to look it up and I saw it pronounced 3 different ways, but it's either the Gouf, or Gouf Custom from the 8th MS Team series or spin-off of Mobile Suit Gundam. It's actually been quite a while since I saw this particular series, and actually any Gundam at all, except for Zero, which I saw maybe a year or two ago. Now, I'm not so huge into the whole plastic model kits or PLAMOs. I mean, no matter how I do it, they always seem to come out looking a little bit funky, especially when you have to try to paint them. I don't really have that sort of artistic talent, but on the other hand, it's a lot cheaper than buying the actual figures for this series, if you can even find them, because they aren't really produced as much. I believe this has been like the first model kit I've built in maybe a year or two, and it's probably the first Gundam kit that I've built since, I think, Nui Zeal back in maybe 2004 or something. Now this is the completely unpainted version of this figure. No decals have been attached except for the eye, which I attached incorrectly. It's not really centered, as you can see. So I mean, this gives you some idea of what the figure looks like in its raw state. Not a terrible looking PLAMO. I really like the appearance of the Gouf series, or Gouf series, because it's got like a more medieval flair to it than a lot of the other mobile suits in the series or franchise. Now, this is the instruction manual, which shows a picture of what it looks like with a little bit of shadowing and stuff, and paint and the decals attached. Honestly, I think I probably will try to just go and do the highlights at some point. I mean, I'm kind of iffy on that, but it just gives it such a cooler flair because it makes the shoulder pads really pop. It's not that hard of a kit to build. I mean, I could do it, so can probably anybody. It has a fair amount of parts. I actually resaw one of the first fights featuring this unit. Very cool stuff. As you'll notice, it's got like a whole bunch of alternate parts and stuff, which is really cool. Unfortunately, I can't get all the parts to like go correctly, but you know what? This gives you some idea of what this is in case you do decide to pick one of these up. Let me just go through some of the alternates here. First up, after I finished the thing, I noticed I had a ton of parts left over, so typically when you have a ton of parts left over, that means you did something really, really wrong. So I have to go back and look and find out what I might have goofed on, but it looks like some of these were intended as like alternate hands and stuff. But if you'll notice, these have like balls on them, and the actual hands for this use pegs, so I'm not really sure what that's all about unless I need to like shave these down to use them. I don't know, if somebody's more familiar with it, they can probably point it out, but other than that, it comes with a sword which needs to be held in a specific hand because the other one's not wide enough. You actually add the sword to his hand by popping off this gauntlet plate, and it just pops right off. It's kind of weird because the actual finger portion is on the front and it never opens. And the character is shown as wielding it both, the sword both up and down at times, so I'm not sure how I'm going to display him when I do have him wielding the blade, but it's not a very tight fit, which is sort of an issue for me, where it just sort of flops around a bit. But you can just replace the hand with this one, pulls right out. Voila, he's got his sword. Now for the opposite arm, actually the other thing is I should just quickly show you probably should pause it for this too. Yeah, I'm using a plastic bag because I don't save these boxes, it just takes up too much space, but This is the alternate piece for the gauntlet thing over here. I haven't gotten to pop out yet, but when it does, it's for the sort of whip-like thing. I don't know what this is actually called. It's really cool because it's sort of a flexible cord, so it does hold its form for its action poses and stuff. Now this is both a grappling device and apparently can also shoot electric currents through it on the anime. Of course, you can't really show it like it's shooting out electricity without some additional props you'd have to probably make yourself. The other big part of this is his, I guess, more real weapon, where he's got this giant Gatling gun here. You'll notice that it's got this chamber for, I guess, loading the clips of ammo into it. You just pop off this shield here, which you don't even actually need to display it with. And then it attaches into this peg. It's supposed to also just grasp into the hand, but I haven't tried that because I'm just worried about breaking it. You can't attach it when you don't have this other piece on. It just doesn't fit very well. And the obvious downside to this, besides the fact it kind of off balances the figure, is the fact you really can't pose this very well. I mean, part of that's just because we don't have bicep articulation. But wherever you're trying to pose, it just has like kind of fluky looks to it. And the other thing I really would have liked if they had waist articulation on these. Because again, you know, kind of impedes it a little bit. You know, a very neat little addition. I knocked something off of it. Hold on a second. So yeah, just a really cool weapon all around. Now the other weapon on the character is this wrist-mounted or forearm-mounted gun, or set of guns. It also is detachable, and you can place the shield right in its spot, or just leave the shield off entirely. The other thing about this is the shield sort of gets in the way of the shoulder pads at times when you're trying to pose it in variety of ways, but with the other piece in place, it gives it enough clearance to get past the shield, or get past the forearm, so the parts don't touch or anything, which, you know, is pretty cool. The other thing is that he has the alternate hand for this one that, you know, it's just like another sort of attack similar to that. Again, pretty neat. In terms of articulation, it's mostly sort of like ball joints, but the joints aren't actually physical balls. Like if you just pull off his arm right here, you'll notice that it's just like a straight peg or whatever, and inside you have a soft rubbery part that actually does the movement, so you get full rotation because it's on the peg, and then also up and down from this. You know, why have this arm off anyway? Let me start by showing you the articulation here, where we have, yeah, the little gun things just don't want to stay on. But we have a point of rotation here at the wrist. It also has up and down motion. No forward and back, though. At the elbow, we have a full range for a 360 round, and then, again, up and down. Because it's not double jointed, though, you can't get like a full motion up. Now the shoulder pad is also individually articulated, so it prevents it from, you know, just the pose sort of going out. It also shifts forward and back a bit, but not so much when the actual figure's all together. I mean, all the individual parts have tremendous articulation, but as soon as you put the actual figure together, most of it just vanishes, which is kind of disappointing. Since I happen to be a fan of articulation, head only really rotates just due to the body. I mean, it can go up and down a bit, and you will notice physical bulk, but It's just the sculpt doesn't really allow it. No waist motion at all. Down the legs, the hip is on a similar joint to that, but because of the pleated skirt or whatever here, you just don't get much motion. The joy of using plastic model kits. Hold on a second. So yeah, very impeded hip motion, but get a sort of a little bit of forward back there, then a pretty wide range for the side. You'll also get inward and outward motion, because actually it is on physical balls. I don't know why you want inward and outward. A double joint here at the knee. Of course, it's going to look kind of funky when you're doing it. No side to side at the knee though. And then here at the ankle we have a pivot in addition to side and a little bit forward and back. Very impeded by the sculpt. I mean, all around, you know, very neat item. I imagine it's pretty standard to a lot of the other plastic model kits out there.